Hi, welcome along to Arsenal Fan TV. Just wanted to do this video to reflect on the weekend. And you know what? We won the game 1-0 against Norwich. And as it turned out to be 3 massive points because Manchester United drew with Leicester and Manchester City also dropped points. So for that race to get into the top 4, which of course we know that is what we're fighting for now, we're looking pretty good in that. If we go to City and get a win in that, we're guaranteed a Champions League place. If we even get a draw, then win the last game against Villa, we should be all right and could possibly even afford to lose the game against City and still win at home in the last game against Villa and get through to the Champions League places. So was a good weekend for Arsenal on the pitch. But all the talking points have been off the pitch and the protests. Now, were the protests successful or not? Or did the protests flop? I mean, before the game, we were being told that like loads of people are going to hold up these placards saying time for a change on 12 minutes and also on 78 minutes, of course, to signify the fact that we've gone 12 years without a trophy. I was inside the stadium. I was really anticipating, I saw a lot of the organisers before, interviewed Mark from the BSM, saw the guys from the A.F.C, Red Action. These were big fan groups behind this protest. But you have to say that the protest really was a damp squib. And if I was Arsene Wenger, and I was like, after the game, reflecting on what happened, I'd be pretty pleased with myself because rather than the whole place being a sea of placards saying time for a change, it actually worked out in Arsene Wenger's favour in a way because loads of fans, a far bigger majority, broke out into chants of one Arsene Wenger. And I was truly shocked when I heard it. I hadn't even heard that all season. Fans singing one Arsene Wenger, it was a massive vote of confidence for Arsene Wenger. You have to say from the crowd inside the stadium. But I want to find out, was the protest a flop or not? Because there's also something that very unusual that happened after the game, and that was Arsene Wenger apologised to the fans. And I've got the quotes here. Arsene Wenger after the game, he said, "You want to make fans happy. I am sorry if I didn't achieve it." And you've not heard those words come out of Arsene Wenger's mouth all season. And remember the last video I did talking about his press conference where basically he was blaming the fans. I think he was really stung by the reaction of the fans to that. And he's come out and apologised. And again, another quote here. "I give my best for this club," he said. "You don't spend 19 years at the club like Sir Alex Ferguson spent 26 without giving every minute of your time. You give your whole life for that and you try to do as well as possible. One target is to keep 100% of people happy. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that this season." Now, listen, he hasn't come out and said, a real heartfelt apology, but it's an apology. It's something that he's never really done. So whilst the placards may not have worked inside the ground, I think definitely he's been stung by the criticism. He's been stung by the fact that there are a lot of unhappy people calling for time for a change. There were people really angry at his comments about the fans, and he's at least come out and apologised about that. I think to say that the protest was a complete flop is a bit hasty. Inside the ground, visually, it was a flop. Let's face it. You know, the estimates were there's like 500 to 750 people who held those placards up, and then that in a stadium of 60,000 is pretty pitiful, let's face it. But could it have a longer term effect where Arsene Wenger says to himself and the board say to themselves, without openly coming out and admitting it, that, you know what, we need to change a few things. We need to admit that it has been a failure this season, because he's coming out and saying that now. What is he going to do in the transfer market? Because we all know now, I think especially after Saturday, what's been another victory for him is that any hope of him leaving, I think that's gone out of the window. And as I said, the weekend's gone very well for Arsene Wenger as well, results-wise. as regards getting into those Champions League places. So I think any hopes that a lot of the Wenger out brigade are hoping that he may go, I think those have gone out of the window after this weekend, the happenings on and off the pitch. But Wenger does have to change. The board have to change. And we need to see those changes in the summer. Starting off with what they're going to do in the transfer market. They must invest heavily in the squad. Get rid of the deadwood and invest heavily in this squad. A couple of marquee signings that are going to get the fans off their seat. Also, there needs to be a thought process into tactics, into the type of players we buy. We need to get the players we need. Sticking blindly loyal to players that haven't delivered, Arsene Wenger, he's got to change on that. Whether long-term he's going to change or not, we're going to have to wait and see. And also, he's got another massive responsibility here, and that is to unite the fan base. The fan base at the moment is so divided. There's a lot of people who didn't hold up placards in that ground because they are of the opinion that when that team gets out onto the pitch, you get behind the team at all times. Nothing that's going to cause any distractions. And I think maybe that could be where that protest went wrong. Maybe they should have done it after the game, or maybe they should have done a march before the game or something like that. But during the game, there's a lot of fans that even though they may sympathise with the Time for Change cause, they're just not going to do it during the game. They are like, get behind the team. And I saw a lot of fans really having a go at fans who held up those placards saying, listen, this is not the time and place, put that down. You know, there's a lot of that going on. I even heard a lady in the pub after the game was telling me that a father and son squared up, right? A father and son who go to the game. One's anti-Wenger, one's, you know, get behind the Wenger, get behind the team. They squared up inside the stadium. Stewards had to separate them. Can you believe that? The fan base is very divided at the moment. If Arsene Wenger's going to stay at this club, he needs to unify that fan base. More things like this coming out with a bit of empathy towards the fans, and also doing something about the failings of this season, going into next season, making the right transfers. If you're going to be staying here, you must do better than you've done this year. This year has been a poor season. There's no glossing over it. Even if we get into the Champions League, it's been poor because we should have been challenging for the title, and yet again we fell away in the same way we always fall away. So it's up to Arsene Wenger, I think. It's a very important summer for him. First of all, he's got to make the right signings, got to bring a bit of excitement back, unify the fan base. It's horrible at the moment that you've got fans that are all Arsenal fans and all want the best for the club, arguing with each other, moaning at each other, you know, on the verge of wanting to hit somebody because they put a placard up, or somebody's angry because they didn't agree with what they said that Wenger should go. I mean, time for a change is needed. Whatever the change is going to be, whether it's a change in manager, whether it's a change in mentality, whether it's a change in the people upstairs who run the club, something needs to change in the summer, or we're going to have the same as what we've had this summer. I'm hoping that Arsene Wenger is going to institute those changes if he stays. But it was a significant weekend, and it can go either way. Either it can go the way where Arsene Wenger thinks, oh, I've got away with this. I've had 100% backing, a massive vote of confidence from the fans, and I'll continue how I've been continuing on. Or either that, like, he thinks to himself, you know what, all right, I kind of got away with one though there, but I get the point of the fans. I get it now. I need to change. Let's see what happens. Thanks for watching Arsenal Fan TV. Don't forget to get over onto my brand new channel, Man Like Robbie, and subscribe on there as well. And 2 weeks ago of this crazy season.